Macklin Celebrini leads the way as the Sharks sink the Flames. Hey everyone, welcome into Hot Topics. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Postmedia Calgary Flames writers Wes Gilbertson and Danny Austin. And guys, it was the Macklin Celebrini show on Tuesday night as the Sharks doubled up the Flames 6-3. Celebrini with a pair of goals and a pair of assists. Danny, we'll start with you. What were your biggest takeaways from the loss in San Jose?
I mean, a little bit, you just said it. A little bit, I left being like, man, it would be nice to have a Macklin Celebrini on your team. Same thing I felt just over a month ago when Connor Bedard put up 4 points also against the Calgary Flames. And I thought, man, these guys who have been picked first overall the last couple of years are pretty good, aren't they? It's a little unfair because those guys have bad games too, but as we sit here in Calgary and have this never ending debate about whether the Flames should tank or not, when you see those two players, it's just really hard not to feel as if that's exactly what the Calgary Flames need to have those guys under team control for the better part of a decade to build around. And it's really hard to come up with a compelling argument for not trying to get a guy like Macklin Celebrini. Like, he is spectacular. Like, he's so much fun to watch, and he's effective, and he's doing little things on the ice too. It's not just pure offense. I mean, 19-year-olds just weren't that good at hockey when I was 19, or at least I wasn't. I'll tell you that much. But beyond that, I mean, it was a weird game. Like, I know Wes is going to talk a little bit more about this dad strip as a whole. There were some weird bounces. It certainly wasn't the way that the Flames need to play to win. But it's probably. It would be inadvisable to take that game in isolation and try to draw too many conclusions about the Flames, because there were good moments, there were weird bounces. You let in six, and no team around the NHL, but especially not these Flames, is gonna win by trying to score 7 goals in a night. So yeah, I mean, my main takeaway is Celebrini. Just what a player, what a fun guy to watch.
I am, as a proud Canadian, I am slightly concerned that Macklin Celebrini might not be getting loaned to the World Junior team. Is that probably
Yeah.
pretty safe to say? But like, doesn't that put it in perspective, guys, that we're talking about a player who is eligible to be skating in the World Juniors, and instead he's trailing Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid in the NHL scoring race. This Flames team, as currently constructed, they're always going to struggle with speed. Like, they just don't have the wheels to really lock down an elite skater or a strong skating team. And certainly I think you saw that with Celebrini. From a Flames standpoint, if you kind of look at the collective of this 2-game dad strip, so the overtime victory in Los Angeles and then the disappointment in San Jose, I think my biggest takeaway, guys, is actually, I'm wondering if we are going to see Adam Klapka get his shot higher in the lineup soon. And we actually saw it in San Jose. Matt Coronado only had one shift in the third period. Adam Klapka got the fourth line to first or second line promotion. He was out there 6-on-5. It's a topic I'm sure we discussed at the end of last season when Klapka was kind of auditioning alongside Nazem Kadri, and we wondered if maybe there'd be a first or second line right winger in there eventually. And what we've seen from the 6-8 forward this season is kind of exclusively a fourth line role. And to be fair to Flames coach Ryan Huska, it's looked most nights like that's probably where Adam Klapka belongs. But we have seen him come on of late. We've seen more scoring chances. He's clearly got the message about throwing his weight around. And I do wonder, coming off this trip, if as the Flames continue to try to generate more offense, they fiddle with their lines a little and try to get Klapka a little higher up.
Yeah, it does seem like a good time to experiment with the lineup and give him an opportunity. Meanwhile, a massive trade late last week, Vancouver dealing Quinn Hughes to Minnesota. It's not the exact same situation for Craig Conroy with Rasmus Andersson West, but are there any loose threads we can tie to the Hughes deal that may signal what the market could be for Andersson?
Well, you would have, from Craig Conroy's vantage point, you would have been concerned if the return was underwhelming, right? Like, if you looked and said, "Oh, geez, that's all the Canucks got for Quinn Hughes," and he signed for a season longer than Rasmus Andersson, and He's in a different echelon, obviously, of defensemen than Rasmus Andersson. Like, if you were underwhelmed by the Hughes return, and I don't think you should have been, that would have been a concern for the Flames. And so we're not talking about the same player. If you did a fantasy draft of NHL defensemen, Quinn Hughes is going number 2 behind Cale Makar. And while Rasmus Andersson is having a really strong season, and while I think really highly of him as a player, he's not one of the NHL's elite defensemen. He's just a really good one. And so I don't think you can maybe draw too many parallels. The probably biggest relief for Craig Conroy is that the Hughes trade has been made so early. I think the biggest concern would be if a bunch of teams thought Quinn Hughes was an option up to trade deadline day. That can kind of clog the market, right? Everyone's saving their assets. Everyone's waiting to find out, is our offer good enough? Are we getting Quinn Hughes? And so the biggest sigh of relief is probably, okay, the biggest domino has fallen, and now we can kind of get back to normal business.
Yeah, and it makes it other teams move, right? I mean, the one thing is that I feel like we have to, every time we say it, make sure that we say the caveat that we don't think Rasmus Andersson is as good as Quinn Hughes, because I don't want anyone thinking that, like, just like Wes did. But like, he is now, realistically, he's probably the best defenseman on the market. So he is now the guy who, if you want him, you got to go and pay up. And I do think that, if you're a Dallas who is likely going to be facing Minnesota in the first round, I mean, it's still early, there could be movement, but that looks like the likely matchup already. Your move. Go get a guy who's going to give you an even better chance, because you were preparing for one thing, now you got another thing. And that could only play into the Flames' favor. What we don't know is what exactly the Flames are asking for. Obviously, Vancouver got some really talented, can play right now, young players. Is that what the Flames want? Or do they want draft picks? And I think there are a lot of fans who would say draft picks, but I mean, I love the return that Vancouver got on that deal. So that's the thing that we don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately it's good news for the Flames. I don't think there's any question about that. And frankly, the way Rasmus Andersson has been playing all season is good news for the Flames. You're beginning to look and think, can you get sort of a similar return to what the Flames got for a guy like Elias Lindholm? No, Lindholm's a center. Vancouver really, really wanted him, but that might be the standard that you're setting. Get a top prospect. I mean, I don't know if you necessarily want everything that you got in that package, but look, the Flames are going to get a haul for Rasmus Andersson whenever they trade him.
If Yoni Yermo watches this, he is going to be so disappointed in what you just said.
Yoni Yermo is exactly who I was referring to in that trade. Not the most good. Yeah.
The Elias Lindholm trade, the reason it's looked upon so glowingly in Calgary is because essentially 2 of their best prospects came out of that deal. They got Hunter Brustevich out of Vancouver's pipeline, sort of ironically, a guy that Vancouver, didn't think they need and maybe wasn't going to sign because they had this guy named Quinn Hughes and sort of had the power play quarterback role filled for the next 20 years. And then they got a first round pick that they turned into Matvei Gridin. And so, if you could look back on the Rasmus Andersson trade, even without all the other elements, and say, well, they got kind of 2 first round equivalents, I think you'd say the Flames did pretty well.
Yep, definitely a blueprint there for Craig Conroy, and maybe some of the teams that missed out on Hughes have already been buzzing him to find out what it will cost to acquire the defenseman. But we'll see how it all shakes out. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Danny Austin, Wes Gilbertson, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.